Getting ready to take on your lawn? Make your first move with the reliable performance and power of Steel tools. From hedge trimmers and mowers to string trimmers and more, right now save on select gas tools starting at just $149.99. Real Steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
They say every dog has its day, but when you're Lulu and your parents drive a Camry, every day is your day. The roomy rear seat is the perfect, whoa, is that the dog park? Backseat besties, it's a Camry vibe. The all-new, all-hybrid Camry. Toyota, let's go places.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello again, everybody. The preseason begins tonight. Welcome to Thursday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live here on Giants.com. It's presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Folks, come on. It's finally, the offseason is over, Matt. Dottino and Matt Citak. They hit the field. 7 o'clock kickoff tonight at MetLife Stadium. The Giants begin the preseason against the Detroit Lions, a team that they practiced against now on Monday and Tuesday, had a day off yesterday, just doing walkthrough stuff, and now they go at it tonight. In a game which, look, folks, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of cool here in the New York metropolitan area in the mid-60s. Maybe we'll reach high 70s at best. Maybe. And that might be stretching it. So it's going to be a little cool and wet as wet can be. Forecast is for rain all night. And so, do bring your slickers if you plan on being here at the game. Or, of course, listen to it on WFAN 101.9 FM. Or watch the game locally on Fox 5 New York. Now, just a quick note for those of you, and I know we have quite a few people who are Giants fans and they're out of town. This game tonight, all right, if you want to be able to watch it on NFL Network, it is going to be re-aired tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll also be re-aired tomorrow at 5 a.m. Eastern Time and at 3 in the afternoon Eastern Time, and then also on Tuesday, August 13th at 12 noon. So NFL Network has 4 replays of tonight's game between the Giants and the Lions. Now, again, if you're out of town, all right, you're going to have to wait for one of those replays, because the only place you're going to get this game live is if you're here in New York and watching it on Channel 5, or if you take a flight out to Detroit and decide to watch it on Detroit's television station. Otherwise, you're going to have to catch one of the replays. Again, beginning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, NFL Network will have the first replay of the game. So that's a service for you folks who are out of town. Anyway, Matt?
For those in town that, for whatever reason, maybe you don't have cable or whatever, the game will also be streamed on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. The preseason games.
I did not know this.
Yeah, only preseason games. So on Giants.com, we actually have an article, how to watch, listen, and live stream.
Why didn't I get an email on this?
I was the one that put this article together. That's the only reason why I know this.
Okay.
But yeah, on Giants preseason games will stream live on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app in market only. And for those of you, if you're signed up for NFL Plus, you can also stream the games in market through NFL Plus.
Okay. So there you have it. All these different ways to be able to see the Lions and the Giants in the preseason opener tonight. All right. Now, let's get some business out of the way. Coach Brian Daboll told us all during the week that he would decide Wednesday night in terms of who was going to play and who was not going to play. It's obvious that any of the guys who've been dinged up and haven't gotten a lot of practice reps this week, or maybe haven't gotten any at all, are going to be scratched.
Yeah.
That's just common sense.
For sure. If they haven't practiced in full the last couple of days, I'd say, probably you're not going to see the field tonight.
So your Cagers, your Carter Coughlins,
John Michael Schmitz,
Evan Neal, you can just scratch those guys immediately.
For
I mean,
sure.
that's just, it goes without saying. They're not going to play. I would think it's highly doubtful that Greg Van Roten, who's only been here for a few days, gets thrust into a game so quickly. That's just using common sense. And I would also think common sense says that a number of the key starters are also going to get rested. Now, because there's jumbling going on already on the offensive line, Matt, I'm going to say he will lean toward not playing Daniel Jones in this first game because he does not have his 5 guys, or at least his top 5 contenders in place yet. That's where I'm now waffling to. I waffled at first saying he's not going to play him. Then I said he might play him. I know you felt that way. I'm saying he probably will not play Jones now because of the offensive line situation. We know JMS and Neal are both out.
Well, when I said that I made that comment about DJ playing, I just said he was going to play in the preseason, not necessarily tonight. I honestly never really thought Daniel Jones would go in tonight's game for a couple of reasons. First of all, which couldn't have known this in advance, but with this weather and Daniel being just over 8 months removed from tearing his ACL,
the rain's not good.
It's just so not worth the risk. First of all. Second of all, the Giants had, as you mentioned, 2 very intense joint practices with the Detroit Lions where Daniel Jones got plenty of game reps against Detroit's starters for 2 straight days. They had 8 different team periods where Daniel Jones was throwing on the Lions secondary, feeling the Lions pass rushers coming at him. So he already got those valuable reps. And Dan Campbell, when he spoke to the media on Tuesday, he said that none of the Lions starters are going to be playing. That it was, they just don't want to play their starters in the first preseason.
Amend that. He said Jared Goff was the only one who would not play besides the injured guys.
No, he said
he said his key starters, he might give them a few snaps. He wasn't sure.
I thought he said that most of the starters were not going to go.
He was a little vague on it, and I guess I'd have to go back to the Lions transcript, but it doesn't matter. He was clearly leaning towards not playing them. He said I might give them a few snaps, as I heard him say.
I got just the sense that
you know what, though?
the starters weren't going to play.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but look, all those reasons together, plus obviously what you said about the Giants' offensive line, all of that comes together as just very good reasons as to why Daniel Jones should not play tonight or will not play tonight. Now, they have 2 more preseason games coming up the next 2 Saturdays. I think it's the 17th and the 24th, I believe.
Yeah.
I think next week's game against the Texans will probably be the game that Daniel Jones gets, I guess, somewhat extensive action.
Makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense because, first of all, in the 3rd preseason game, it's obviously the closest game you have to the regular season, and obviously injuries could happen in any game, but if they were to happen to any player earlier in the preseason, it gives them more time to recover before week 1, first of all. Second of all, similar to this week, that week leading up to the Jets preseason game, the 3rd game, the Jets and Giants will have another joint practice. So that'll be another day for Daniel Jones to get a good amount of real reps against another defense and against a defense that is considered to be, or thought to be one of the best defenses in the league this year. They were last year. Brought back pretty much most of the same guys, not all, but a lot of them. So Daniel Jones will get good reps in that joint practice against the Jets. He might play a little bit in the 3rd game, but I really think it's that next week game against the Texans where Daniel Jones, possibly Malik Neighbors, the starters, at least most of them, I think that's the game that there's the best chance where they will get some, I don't want to say serious action, but, more than just a handful of plays would be my guess. Brian Daboll obviously is not the most forthcoming with information ahead of time to the media, so we don't really know for sure. He likes to keep his cards close to his chest, at least to the public, but that would be my best guess.
I would agree with that guess. I think that makes the most sense based on the logic that you have already outlined. And quite frankly, with Daniel Jones doing as well as he's done, I don't think you have to err on the side of caution and hold him out of the whole preseason.
Yeah.
I think he's looked good enough that you can give him a little bit of real game action. And number 2 makes the most sense. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
physically.
However, I would also say better make sure he's got at least a semblance of a starting 5 lineman in front of him.
Well, yeah, of course. That
Okay,
is
because
100%.
if all of a sudden it turns out that he really can't put a legitimate starting caliber offensive line in front of him against Houston, then I don't think you can play Jones.
I agree with that, but at least as of right now, the only, presumed starter on the offensive line who isn't necessarily healthy, it seems to be, would be John Michael Schmitz. The other 4 guys who at least have a good chance at being a starter come week 1 on the offensive line, at least as of now, all seem to be healthy enough. So, obviously injuries can happen. John Michael Schmitz seemed to get dinged up during one of the practices here in training camp, so it can happen, but fingers crossed JMS comes back to practice this week and they can get potentially all 5 starters on the offensive line into that game, so they can get those valuable game reps that you mentioned.
All right, so tonight, given the fact that the offensive line in all likelihood is going to be jumbled and not the projected starting 5 that they hope to see against Minnesota, I don't know that my microscope is on that unit as much as it would have been otherwise. So you'd like to see whoever plays offensive line tonight do well because you need depth and you're going to want to keep 9 anyway. So you want to see these guys do well. But my primary focus is probably not going to be there now because of what we just explained. I think it's got to be on the running backs. It's got to be on the depth in the wide receiver room. And it's got to be on the secondary. Those are the 3 spots that are going to get the most attention from me tonight.
Yeah, well, let's offense first. I definitely will be paying attention to the offensive line. I mean, yes, whenever the starters go out there, we'll definitely keep a closer eye on it. However, as we saw last year, injuries happen, and the offensive line seems like, the easiest way for an injury to happen or the easiest position for that to happen. And we saw last year how important it is to have depth along the offensive line. So while none of the, presumed starters might not suit up tonight, I think it's really important to see who's going to earn those backup spots, whether it's, the Giants swing tackle, backup guard, backup center, injuries are bound to happen throughout the season, and those guys who could be earning those backup spots could be thrown into game action and get a couple of starts when the season comes around. And we know how important the offensive line performance is towards the entire offense's success. So I definitely will still be keeping a close eye, not as close of an eye as if the starters were there, but that's definitely something I will still be following pretty closely. I agree about the running backs. I am very interested to see, first of all, if someone like, Tyrone Tracy, who I think would play tonight, I want to see him out in game action, and same with Turbo Miller. Those 2 guys throughout training camp these last 2 weeks have just shown flashes of why the Giants brought them into this building, and I would love to see them, get some reps in a game and see what they can do against a pretty good Detroit defense. I agree also about the bottom of the wide receiver depth chart. The first, I would say, 4 spots seem to be pretty solidified, but beyond that, there's a lot of competition for those last couple of spots, and I would think that tonight would be a great opportunity for a lot of those guys to first, really make a strong impression on the coaching staff with their performance tonight. And I feel like if there is any position group where we might get some play from the starters, I agree with you that it would be the secondary, because there's a lot of youth in that group. I mean, the most veteran guy in the defensive backfield, I believe, is Jalen Mills, and he hasn't even practiced yet in training camp.
How true is that, huh?
He's on the non-football injury list. So
yes,
he's definitely not playing tonight.
Correct.
So a lot of these guys, because of how young they are, they just could use real reps in a game. Like the joint practices were great and great experience for those guys, but you can't, it's not the same as mimicking an actual game situation. So
No, it's not.
I would think that someone like Deonte Banks probably potentially won't play, but I at least hope that some of the other guys that are fighting for even starting spots in the secondary, I hope we see them at least for a handful of plays tonight.
There's no better place to watch live TV this fall than Hulu Plus Live TV. Why? Because you get your favorite sports like football, local channels, shows, and so much more. Plus, get Hulu's entire streaming library with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus included with your plan. No long-term contracts or hidden fees. Don't wait. Start your 3-day free trial of Hulu Plus Live TV today. Live TV plan required. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for new and eligible returning subscribers only if available. Terms and restrictions apply. Learn more at hulu.com.
See, the trickiest part about this, you have to do the player evaluation stuff. Obviously, that's the most important thing to the coaches. It's not the results. It's the player evaluations. The problem is the two most important units on a football field, which require chemistry, unity, fabric, close-knit, communication, instinctiveness, playing off each other. It's offensive line and it's secondary. That's why the offensive line isn't as important tonight, because as much as you need to see the backups and who those back 9 guys are going to be, these guys are not going to play together during games. They'll never play together during games. These guys, well, at least they shouldn't. Fingers crossed. These guys are backups who are all going to be plug-ins. The strength of an offensive line is the sum total of its parts, not the individuals. So for the Giants' offensive line to succeed this year, it's going to have to be the starting 5 that they settle on who work together as a unit. The offensive line is not an individual unit, Matt.
No,
That's the problem.
Of course.
So,
But those guys still get thrown into one-on-one matchups.
They can.
All the time.
And they need to earn their backup depth spot charts. I'm not disagreeing with that, but the emphasis is a heck of a lot less than it would be if, for example, Schmitz and Illuminor and Runyon and Thomas, if we could tell you that their projected 5 starters were going to play tonight, again, I'm going to think that probably not. I would be all over that position, like ketchup on a hamburger. Not the case tonight. Just not the case. Because it's the unity is what matters more in that position than anything else. Same thing with secondary. But that's the second position where you need unity.
You still want the best players.
Oh,
on
no
the
question.
roster.
Oh, I'm going to look at it. Don't tell. I'm not going to. But my emphasis is going to be on the running backs, the wide receivers, and the secondary. Secondary because there is, despite the fact that you do have to have fabric and chemistry, there will be a lot of one-on-one play.
Yes.
And so you can still tell stuff. One-on-one play there. That's the trouble with the offensive line. A lot of times, if you don't know the blocking scheme and you don't know somebody's supposed to do this and somebody's trying to cover up for this guy, you could degrade a guy when you're making a mistake because he wasn't supposed to be degraded. He was trying to cover up for somebody else.
You and I would, but the coaching staff, they know where everyone's supposed to be.
No question. No question.
They're the important ones.
They need to watch that a lot more carefully than we do. Is what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Because I'm trying to be fan friendly here. I want to give the fans an idea of, as a layman, what they should be watching. And what we should be watching.
As Giants fans all know, the last decade
I know,
we've just been
I
struck
get it.
with
I
poor
get it.
offensive line play. So,
But
even in a
until-
preseason game, I want to see the offensive line play well.
I can't wait to
I
see
get
the
what you're-
projected
I get
starting
what you're
5. That's
saying.
all I'm saying. That's what's going to get me really fired up.
I fully get what you're saying.
That's
though.
all right. And we're not really on a different page here. No. We're just emphasizing different levels of it. That's all. Okay. 201-939-4513. Enough of us and our splitting hairs here as to what we want to see. It's time for you folks at 201-939-4513. We go to the phone lines. Jason in New Haven is first on BBKL. Hello.
Hey, Paula, man. How you guys doing?
What's going on?
What's up, Jason?
Good, man. I'm finally happy to get some Giants football back. I'm excited. Even though it's preseason, I'm excited to.
Trust me, we are loving it. Games.
You and us both.
Tape. Games.
Okay.
Wheels football to talk about.
Absolutely. So, two things. I want to talk about and I'll try to make each point quick because I know you got a ton of callers. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the joint practices. And one thing I wanted to talk about now, of course, do you want to see fist fights, especially with helmets. It's asinine. I get it. It's stupid. You could break your hand, break a thumb. Anything can happen. But here's what I would say. I like, for a while now, maybe Paul and Matt, maybe you guys will agree or disagree, but for a while now, for the last few years, it's been difficult being a Giants fan. I think you two would agree as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt as if we've lost our way a little bit. Outside of our Super Bowl runs, 86, 90, 08, and 11, my favorite team, outside of those favorite teams, and I've been watching the Giants since 89, 90, little kid, was that 08 team. Before, we had the incident with Plaxico.
Yeah.
And I remember how
dominant team.
Physically dominating we were.
Mm-hmm.
Dominant we were. And I will go on record saying I think we would have went back-to-back Super Bowls because I don't think anybody was touching us this year. But
you're right.
I bring up that team because of how physically dominant we were. And I feel the last few years we've kind of lost that edge to us. And you know what? Yes, while there might have been some incidents where you could break a hand, break a wrist, you know what? We're the New York Football Giants. And it seems as if Detroit came and thought they was going to push us around, and they had another thing coming, and we fought back. And I like that. Now, like I said, of course, you could break a hand, break a fist. I get it. But I like the mentality that, hey, we're going to fight back. We're the Giants. We're known to be we've been the bullies on the block for a long time, and we lost that way. And you know what? I liked it. Push back, fight back. Now, may Detroit on paper be better than us? I will give you that. They were a few plays away from going to the Super Bowl. But you know what? We're going to go out on our terms, and I like the way they fought back. So that was my first point. Second point, a few plays I wanted to see tonight that I'm excited in. Paul, I know you've mentioned this guy's name a few times, and I actually agree with you. I'm really intrigued by Ryder Anderson. Apparently he's been taking a lot of first-team reps along Dex and Nacho. And he has some really good physical qualities. I believe he's like 6'5", 6'6". Apparently he's put on a ton of muscle and weight. And I'm really, really interested to see what Patterson has done with him. And I'm excited to see him, excited to see Chapman. Two guys on offensive line tonight I'm kind of interested in. I know a lot of people have put him in the trash can, but I think McKeeson has some physical tools that he can still show. I know last year wasn't the best, but he was a year removed from tearing his ACL or tearing something in his knee the year before. So I still want to see what he has. I'm not willing to throw young players away. And Kubis, I've heard good things about. And then the last thing, I'll take it off the air, Paul and Matt. I know I was listening to the program yesterday, Paul, and you was mentioning, it was the day before yesterday. I think you was on with John, and you was mentioning the numbers for the receiver room. And the one thing I liked the group you had, but the one thing I would, respectfully disagree. I think that the main battle, in my opinion, is McKenzie and
Olszewski.
Just go with Gunner.
Forgive
it's
me.
easier.
Gunner, excuse me. Forgive me. Sorry for massacring his name. And me personally, Gunner did a tremendous job for us last year. There's no doubt about it. That punt return against the Rams was very, very impressive. But in my opinion, I think McKenzie has shown that he can be good on special teams in terms of being a returner. And in my opinion, when he was in Buffalo, he had some really good years as a receiver in Buffalo. So I think if it comes down to those two, I think McKenzie's ability to be a pretty good NFL slot man, backing up Wandale may give him the edge. And I've heard Gunner's done well in practices, and that's phenomenal too. But in my opinion, I think McKenzie may edge him out just because of the familiarity he has with Dable. It seems like Dable really likes him on a personal level. Maybe they have some kind of friendship outside of football. And I think McKenzie may have a role in this offense. Maybe not a ton of snaps, but I think he could be your primary punt return and kick returner. He has a lot of quicks. He has good hands. Like I said, I remember in Buffalo, he's had really good seasons with Josh Allen as that, a gadget, inside slot receiver. So I want to see what you guys thought about, the McKeesons and the Riders, and I'm really interested to see what you guys think about that. And go Giants. Don't let any team push us around this year. Let's do the pushing. Regardless of what our record may be, we're the football giants, and we need to remember what our DNA is. And thanks, guys, for taking my call.
All right, appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much. 201-939-4513. All right, I'll go Ryder Anderson. You go the other player.
Okay.
Ryder Anderson's a guy who I've been talking about now since last year. He'd come off a serious knee injury, and he put on weight, almost 25 pounds, came in at about 290 last year. I talked to him about it. I said, look, man, I got a feeling they're going to give you some shots at the defensive tackle spot. I fully expected it to happen. It never did. Okay? So I went and doubled down again this offseason. And I told people way back when, months ago, watch out for Ryder Anderson as a possible 3-technique rotation guy. I'm sticking with it. He's had a good camp. He's probably the best pure pass rushing 3-technique on this roster right now, as it stands. So you don't have to sell me on him. That is not a surprise to me at all. I also thought Biggie Basham might have a chance to kind of nuzzle into there too. He's not been nearly as flashy as Anderson has, and that's my take on that.
Ryder's your guy.
He's definitely one of my guys.
No, Ryder has looked good this summer. I mean, it's been 2 weeks of camp, and he's definitely, in my opinion, made a pretty strong impression for that, that defensive tackle spot next to Dexter Lawrence. Jordan Riley is another guy who has flashed a little bit during these practices the last 2 weeks, and those are two guys that I'm probably among the most excited for me to watch, not only tonight, but throughout the preseason, because I think both of those two guys are both young, and they've both shown flashes at times. If they could put it all together and do it on a more consistent basis, I think either one of them could develop into a pretty solid defensive tackle. The other, he mentioned the gunner versus Isaiah McKenzie. That has been one of the most, in my opinion, the most fascinating, I guess, training camp battles the first 2 weeks, because they do have very similar skill sets. They both have extensive experience as a returner, both kick and punt, and they both are like, that shifty sort of slot receiver. And with Wan'Dale already, obviously earning a spot on the team, my guess would be that only one of those two will end up making the final roster. And honestly, they've both played pretty well in the first 2 weeks. I mean, prior to this week, I would have said that I thought, McKenzie might have the slight edge, but during these joint practices against Detroit, Gunner really showed some juice as a receiver. He was actually involved in the passing game during team drills, had a few catches, made some nice runs after the catch. So that is going to be, I think, one of the more intriguing training camp position battles over the next 3 more weeks we have. 2.5 weeks.
It's a tug of war between those two guys.
It really
I'm
is.
an Olszewski guy. I'm going to come right out and say it. 1 year he led the NFL in punt return average at over 11 yards per pop. I know what he can do. I saw how he saved this punt return unit last year when he came middle of the season off waivers from the Steelers. To me, there is no question about it. Olszewski, for me, unless he does something terribly wrong, I would keep him. But McKenzie does have an accomplished resume. He has more pelts on his belt as a receiver than Olszewski does.
Definitely.
He's got the Buffalo connection.
Him and Dable seem to be pretty tight.
Big time.
Dable talked about him on Tuesday to the media.
So there is no doubt that those two guys are fighting for a spot. I'm just telling you my preference as we sit here today. It could change over a month. If certain things happen during practice and during games that make me feel otherwise, maybe I could change my mind. But I'm an Olszewski guy.
Yeah, I want to see both of them in these preseason games before I, sort of pick a side. Because while they've looked great in practice is not the same thing as a game. So I definitely want to see them going up against another team in an actual game setting. Just a couple other quick points that Jason brought up. I was born in 1992. I'm 31 years old, turning 32 in 2 months.
I got socks older than you.
That 2008 New York Giants team, and I say this all the time, and I've been saying this for years, I think that was the best and most talented Giants team of my lifetime. Of the last 31, coming up on 32 years, I think that was the best team, and I completely agree, biased aside. If the incident with Plaxico Burress does not happen, I don't see any team stopping them from going back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Just wanted to put that out there. And
a lot of people agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, they were the best team in the NFL prior to the Plaxico incident, so not that hot of a take.
They're not beating the 86 team, though. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, that was before my lifetime.
I understand.
So. And the last thing I wanted to bring up that Jason talked about was the scrums in joint practices. I mean, I know you guys have probably spoken about it on the show since then. You don't want to see fights. I'll make this very quick. You don't want to see fights, of course. You don't want to see some of your best players throwing punches at helmets, of course. But I will say the Giants showed, the Detroit Lions pride themselves on grit. I mean, Dan Campbell at his opening press conference said we're going to bite the kneecaps off of our opponents. So they clearly came in thinking that they were kind of going to push the Giants around and, show them who's boss. And day one, Giants showed them, you are not coming into our house and doing that and pushing us around. Absolutely not. I just like that the Giants, I don't want to use the term showed some fight because of the fights, but they showed that they're not just going to be pushed around by an opponent that people outside the building seem to think is better than the Giants. So I like to see that. And, Jason talked about this team not really having an identity the last couple of years. Well, the way that the roster is currently constructed, it seems pretty clear that this Giants team, the identity is going to be built around its defense, about the talented pass rush, even the front seven. And it just reminds me of the identity we saw of the Giants teams from 07 and 11. Those teams were built. Obviously, you had Eli, you had playmakers on offense, good offensive lines, but that team was built on those defenses and getting after the quarterback. And just the way that the current pass rush is set up for the Giants, it seems like they're going for a similar identity. We'll see if they're able to, reach the same level of success. That's obviously the goal.
It sure is. 201-939-4513. Cliff is on line 2. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, guys. Great to hear the show today, as usual. I had another thought about our chat about Evan Neal last week. Before I get to that, though, with all the excitement about making a leap forward this year, I hope we've still got our eyes on the prize of the sustained success that Joe Shane called it. And, we're not looking to just have a great year. We're looking to finally get something rolling from the front office down through the coaches and the players, where we can compete for the division title for an extended period of time. And I think there's a window for us to do that right now with what's going on in the rest of the division. So the key to that has always been the trenches. And I'm a little, I don't want to be too dismayed about Van Roten and Illuminor being starters, if that's the way it has to go to open the season. But I'm really looking for the 3 guys that they drafted in their first draft, and whoever else they added, I'm not sure otherwise since they've been here. That's in that category of a young enough player that you can build with, on their first contract, or in the case of Burns and Runyon at the end of their first contract, So I just wanted. I'm just hoping we're on track for that, and that the owners are behind that 100%. That I appreciated the way they hung in with the last regime until they couldn't anymore, because they did make some progress from where we were at the start of 2018. And I was one of the few fans that one of 25% of the fans, according to one estimate, that was in on the progress for a while until the disaster of the 4th year made it impossible. So I just hope we're on that track. That means I would love to see an OL that features those 3 draftees if possible, and anyone else that fits that mold of the young, and the same with the defensive side. And I know that there's a lot of excitement from this year's draft with other positions, and that's great. We needed those too, and you couldn't do everything in terms of where the roster was when this new regime came through. So I guess you know where I'm coming from.
Look, here's the bottom line. We talk about this all the time on the show, and it's no secret. You got to build through the draft, and you need not just your rookies to hopefully give you some immediate impact, because that is a huge plus and a huge benefit and like icing on the cake. But what you really need is your previous 2 draft classes before that. We talk about how the third year of a player, right? The third year of a player is the blossom year, where you got to know by then if he's really a player or not. Well, you pretty much spelled it out. The last couple draft classes, those guys all have to pick up their game and become even better than they've shown. I mean, even Kayvon Thibodeau, he is a really good player. But how about maybe now he ascends to Pro Bowl level? How about that?
That would be great.
Right?
That's what he's certainly aiming for. I will say on your first point about you hope that the front office is, aiming for sustained success. I feel like with the moves that Joe Schoen has made this offseason in particular, that is exactly what they are trying to build. I mean, Joe Schoen at the beginning of the offseason said, we have this cap space and we can always create more cap space by doing some contract restructures. Well, so far there's only been one restructure. It's Dexter Lawrence, who obviously has been the Giants' best player the last 2 years, is not going anywhere anytime soon. And the reports are that while they did restructure his deal, they didn't even do the full restructure that they had available to them, which showed that they are not just, sort of kicking the can down the road to create more cap space for this year. They're preserving some of that cap space in future years. And they haven't restructured guys like Andrew Thomas or Bobby Okereke, at least not yet. They still can. It could happen before the start of the season. I have a feeling that even if they were to restructure one or both of those guys, it again would probably not be to the full extent that they have available to them, because they want to preserve that cap space moving forward. And that, I think, is such a crucial factor in building that sustained success that you were talking about.
No doubt.
Well, I think the guy that we have as the GM now understands that aspect better than the last guy, who was pretty damn good, I thought, from player personnel, and had a strong track record in that area of the job, but not the part that you just referenced. So I'm feeling good about that. But I know, Matt, you've learned a lot about the teams that came before when you started following. But the 2000 team is the one that the Van Roten signing reminded me of.
Glenn Parker, I know Glenn Parker, Dusty Ziegler, and Lomas Brown. I know all about them.
They were very heroic, and it wasn't going to last. We needed the guys that became the 07 and 11 guys. They started getting drafted right after that, right?
Well, the problem was, you're right, it wasn't going to last. They signed 3 veteran offensive linemen during that offseason. They led them to the Super Bowl, where they lost to Baltimore. And then the following season, Ziegler got hurt, right? His knee went bad. And Lomas Brown and Glenn Parker showed their age. And those 3 guys, who were the foundation of a team that won the NFC Championship, those 3 guys started to very quickly crumble. And then the offensive line became a problem. So you're right. I understand. I don't know that these guys are of that level, but it would be great if they can have the same impact. I mean, heck, I think Lomas Brown, to me, is a Hall of Famer. I know he's not there, but he should be.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
What?
Have a great day. We got to move.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
201-939-4513. We go to Matt in Princeton. You're next on the program. Hello.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Good afternoon.
Hi.
What's up, Matt?
I just want to start off by saying, huge fan of the show. You guys, Paul, I love the way you fan out for the Giants. Don't ever change, honestly.
Okay.
And I guess just a couple of points. One, just what a difference a week makes, huh? I mean, from last week to this week, a couple of practices, and it seems like everybody's off of riding Daniel Jones and back to supporting the team. It's just nice to see. It's been a real dark place for a long time. And one one question.
There you go. I was waiting for the question. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's okay.
First time call, and I'm a little nervous.
Oh, no. Look, don't be nervous, man. This is great stuff. We're just shooting the breeze about Big Blue. It's all good.
Exactly. So how long do you think they wait before they make a move at corner? I mean, it's obviously a shaky position. They don't have a lot of depth. They're already moving off a Flott, it seems. Do you think they wait to the end and see who shakes loose, or do you think they're going to be making moves sooner than that?
I think they are definitely going to give Cordell Flott and even the guy like, Nick McLeod a chance to earn that spot. I don't think there's any panic at that position right now prior to even the first preseason game. I mean, this is the roster that they constructed, so I think they're going to give the guys that are in the building their fair shot to earn that spot before they look to potentially bring someone in from the outside.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now on the program. John and I had an extensive conversation about this very topic. It's our opinion that the radar is out for a potential upgrade at corner with some experience. However, they're not going to be hasty because they do want to see what these guys have to offer. And if Flott and or McLeod can, or for that matter, Trey Hawkins, I don't want to just exclude him. He's going to get a lot of playing time tonight, I'm sure.
I mean, David Long, he has plenty of NFL experience.
So if somebody can prove to this coaching staff that they can go into opening day and do the job correctly, they're going to give those guys every opportunity to prove it. And then maybe if they decide to pull in someone from the street with about a week to go, or if they see somebody on waivers at the 53-man cutdown that they're really excited about, don't be shocked if they make a move.
There's no better place to watch live TV this fall than Hulu Plus Live TV. Why? Because you get your favorite sports like football, local channels, shows, and so much more. Plus, get Hulu's entire streaming library with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus included with your plan. No long-term contracts or hidden fees. Don't wait. Start your 3-day free trial of Hulu Plus Live TV today. Live TV plan required. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for new and eligible returning subscribers only if available. Terms and restrictions apply. Learn more at hulu.com.
But they're going to give these guys a chance to prove it first.
Yeah, one good thing, about how poorly the Giants season went last year is that they are pretty high up on the waiver order. They're number 6, right? Yeah. They're number 6. So there's a good chance. The last time they were this high was 2 years ago, and that's when they brought in Jason Pinnock, Nick McLeod. Who was the third one? Was Cager then, or was he?
Cager, I think was you're all right. He was a waiver claim. Yeah, he was a waiver claim. Good call.
So I think that the Joe Shane, the front office, they will take advantage of where they are on the waiver order. If they see someone that they think is going to help this team, they are not going to hesitate. I think to try to bring that guy in.
Okay, Matt.
Okay. All right. And one more comment.
Yeah.
It's like Matt. I will be watching the backup offensive lineman tonight on the during that game. We're all still a little shell shocked. We all need to know that everybody backing everybody up is going to be at least an NFL caliber player.
No doubt. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
201-939-4513. We go to Donnie in Queens. You're next on the program. Hello.
What's going on? How are you?
Hi.
For me tonight, I think you look for two things. From a team perspective, just you want to see as few communication breakdowns as possible. Paul, you kind of touched on it. The backup line is only going to get so many snaps together, hopefully never in a real game. There's a lot of guys mismatching. But
hope not.
You hope. Yeah, right. So you hope for just, in short yardage, everybody, kind of execute those things. Play, a relatively clean game from that perspective. From a roster individual spot, I'm actually most interested in seeing DeVito play and, Locke if he does play. Now, I'm actually not a huge Drew Lock guy. I wasn't too thrilled with that signing. We'll see it. Hopefully he never plays. It never comes to that. But I do think if you looked at the Giants' quarterback room right now, there's no guarantees any of these three guys will be here next year. And I think for Tommy, if he could show some growth, it'd be actually nice to see that, maybe they have a backup quarterback on their hands that they can kind of keep in the program moving forward. So I'm interested to see if he's made any leaps in terms of his ability to, kind of read the field, get the ball out quick, whereas last year it was kind of like either home run ball or tuck it and run or take the sack type of stuff. So just my 2 cents on what I'm looking for. Just excited the game is on. And I'll say this. DVR was the best invention ever for preseason football. I won't turn this game on until 8:30. I'll skip every commercial, every challenge, all those things that really speed up the process. So thanks for taking the call, and I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks, Donnie.
Thank you, Donnie. That was a chuckling comment.
He's not wrong.
Oh, he's got a good point.
You don't want to watch the challenges?
Hey, by the way, folks, you're going to see some new technology tonight, okay? Sony has a new Hawkeye piece of technology, and it's going to be used for the first time tonight in tonight's game on Fox 5, Giants local telecast with Phil Simms, Carl Banks, and Bob Papa. It's for the first down line. You know about this, right?
Yep.
Okay. So they just installed it, and they activated it here at MetLife Stadium just the other day. I don't know how many other stadiums tonight are also going to be activated because they haven't been able to get to all of the stadiums yet. But I do know they didn't have it for the Hall of Fame game in Canton. They will have it tonight. That's been confirmed. I've talked to the people at Fox. They are all on board. They've tested it. What they're going to do, they got 6 cameras about 20 yards apart, spread out on one side of the field. These cameras will shoot the football electronically with the computer mind that these suckers are attached to. They are going to be able to, when they mark the first down marker from the press box, there's going to be a gentleman who runs this. He's going to mark first down. It will then mark the ball where it is on the field with the cameras. Send that to the computer membrane. Now, that computer membrane knows where the first down marker should be 10 yards down the field. If there is a measurement, and they've got to figure out, is there a first down or not? Instead of bringing out the chains, they simply will call for a measurement. The guy upstairs in the booth is going to hit the button, and within a matter of milliseconds, on the scoreboards inside the stadium and on your television screen, they are going to show you, like they do in tennis, where you get the replays in tennis. They give you the virtual ball with the line and tell you if it's in or out. You are going to see an image of the ball exactly where it is in regards to the first down line, and exactly, they will actually give you a measurement of how short the ball is from the 10 yards to gain first down marker. Or for that matter, if it is the first down, it's going to tell you that. We will all learn exactly at the same time because it's going to go right up on the scoreboard and on the television screen. And that's how they're going to determine measurements during this ball game. It's an experimental system. They have not implemented it for all the stadiums yet. They're trying to get this stuff installed, and they're not all ready for everybody. If this works out, my understanding is they may use it in full during 2025. I don't believe it's going to go online during 2024 yet. So that's going to be something pretty cool you might be interested in when you're watching the game tonight.
So Donnie's not going to have to fast forward with the chain gain coming out to measure the ball? Oh, sorry, Donnie.
Go ahead.
Just what Donnie said earlier about the quarterbacks.
Yes.
He brought up Tommy DeVito. That is the guy I think is going to get the most run tonight. He probably will get at the very least a half, if not more than that.
I would agree.
So that is one player in particular. He's going to have a great chance to go out there and perform. The coaching staff kind of knows what Tommy is capable of, obviously, because he, led the Giants to that 3-game win streak towards the end of last season when Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor both went down. So they kind of know what he can do, but this is a chance for Tommy to show, this is my second year in the league. I'm even better than I was last year, taking a jump, show some growth and development. And, it might be tough for him to beat out Drew Lock for the backup job, considering the contract that Drew Lock got. But maybe Tommy plays so well in the preseason that he makes the coaching staff and front office have a conversation about potentially holding 3 quarterbacks on the roster. This will be a very good chance for him to show what he can do. This is probably this week, and I guess the Jets game will be the games that Tommy DeVito in particular will probably get the most action.
That makes a lot of sense to me, and I've been wrestling with that question for months.
That's why we got to see how these games go.
Do you keep that third quarterback on the 53? I've been saying I am convinced DeVito will get taken. You try to wave him the practice squad, he's going to get scapped.
Look, he showed he's capable of winning games in the NFL. He showed that last year.
I believe it.
That's going to be a tough conversation for the front office to have over the next few weeks.
And so if you want to keep him, you're going to have to use that roster spot to do it. I really believe that.
Well, let's see how he does tonight.
All right, real quick, folks. Run or walk with Giants legends. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K Racing Kids Run presented by Quest on Saturday, September 7th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants receive a commemorative T-shirt after the race. Stay for a post-race festival and appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. Giants Huddle podcast, you know about it, folks, has all kinds of Giants and NFL dignitaries, all kinds of long-form interviews there, players, coaches, you name it. A lot of football information on that pod. You can get it at your favorite podcast platforms. Go to giants.com/podcasts. Giant season ticket memberships for 2024. Yes, they are still available. Limited inventory, of course. You get all kinds of year-round benefits. Go to giants.com/tickets. And then finally, the Giants TV mobile app. It's free, has all kinds of highlights and good stuff on it. It's on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. We quickly go back to the phones because I think there's somebody else who still wants to get in. Yes. Pearson, Rich. I think we got at least one more call from Rich in Queens. We're going to squeeze you in here, and maybe time for one more. Depends on how long you are, Rich. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, I'll make it quick. I know you're up against it. Wondering what you guys think about which tenured player that's been here a few years needs to have the biggest preseason. Hodgins is maybe one, but I think it's Darnay Holmes. There might be somebody else that you have an opinion on, but I definitely think it's him, and just wanted to hear what you guys think about somebody that's been around 2-3 years or more that really needs the preseason, and I'll take it offline. Thanks.
All right, Rich. Thanks so much. You've already named two obvious contenders. The wide receiver room is hot and heavy. A lot of competition there. And so, yes, Isaiah Hodgins has his work cut out for him, in my opinion. Darnay Holmes, absolutely. He has inside-outside flexibility, has done real well on special teams, which I think gives him a leg up maybe on some of the other backups, because last year he had a terrific second half on special teams.
Yep.
So I suspect he's probably a little bit ahead of some of those other folks, so maybe his position isn't as tenuous as Hodgins. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Hodgins, there's just so much competition.
And he doesn't play specials.
For those last few wide receiver spots on this team, because Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton, those four receivers are making the team. Beyond that, we already discussed, most likely one of Gunner or Isaiah McKenzie will make the team. So that's already 5 wide receivers right there. How many wide receivers are you going to keep? 6? Maybe 7? So those bottom
6
guys, probably 6.
Yeah.
Especially that 6th guy then, he's got to be able to contribute on special teams. So I believe we've seen Isaiah take some reps during practice the last 2 weeks as like a gunner, but that's something he's not done before, so
it's not really his game.
He's obviously you would think, a little bit behind some of the other guys that are competing that have that experience. Someone, let's say like Bryce Ford Whedon, who, while he got hurt that first last year training camp, and the little bit of preseason action we saw of him, he really flashed.
I like him a lot,
and that is that's a young guy that maybe another team wants to take a chance on him if the Giants do decide to go in another direction. So I agree about Hodgins. I'll throw one more name out there, Marcus McKeithen. He was a 5th-round pick, 2022, so Joe Shane's first draft. But when this first, granted it is unofficial, but when this first unofficial depth chart was released a couple days ago, Marcus McKeithen was listed as the 4th right guard behind Jake Kubis, an undrafted free agent. Again, I wouldn't take too much about these depth charts, especially on August 8th before the first preseason game even. But that is a guy where I would think he's got to, even though he is a draft pick of the current regime, I I think that he would have to show that he deserves one of those backup guard spots during this preseason.
Reasonable. I think the only other guy that comes to mind for me is Carter Coughlin. He's been around here for a few years as a backup linebacker and special teams guy. He's banged up right now. He's injured. And he doesn't have the opportunity right now to add to his resume. And what has happened? Deontay Johnson and Darian Beavers and also Matthew Adams have all linebacker experience and also all can show you something on specials. So all of a sudden, that backup linebacker / special teams job is pretty crowded. And you can't help yourself if you're hurt.
Yeah.
So I'd say Carter Coughlin's like a little bit on tenuous ground.
Yeah, I mean, Carter has been a big contributor on special teams these last couple of years
No
since
question.
he was drafted. But
Gotta
you're right.
be available.
You're right. He's not been able to be on the practice field the last couple of days. And even prior to that, Deontay Johnson especially has really, really shown a lot this training camp. He's really made a strong case for himself to make this 53-man roster. And someone that surprised me a little bit, just because I didn't really know pretty much anything about him prior to the Giants signing him, is Matthew Adams. I mean, that's a guy who has primarily played special teams, but over this first 2 weeks, he has made some plays on defense and shown that he belongs on the defensive side of the ball as well as special teams. So that Carter Coughlin is a good one as well. I mean, I hope that he's able to get back on the practice field soon and then into game action soon, so the coaching staff can make the best decision based on all those guys actually getting game reps instead of just having to rely on whatever practice film they have. But we have no idea about Carter's injury, so we don't know when he'll be back.
No, we don't. And Beavers, who came back off his ACL last year and was on practice squad all year, basically it turned out that his knee and his leg hadn't really rehabbed to the level that he could be himself. And so he was kind of stashed, if you will, for a year. It was like a redshirt year for him. Yeah. And now he's gotten some second-team reps out of training camp. Beavers is starting to look like that guy we saw 2 years ago.
And we also have Darius Muasau, who was obviously a rookie 6th-round pick. You would think that he would probably have a good shot at earning one of those roster spots. Again, how many inside linebackers are you going to keep on the final roster? That's another position where there's going to be some tough decisions that have to be made.
There are some battles here. So, yes, you asked about concentration at the beginning of the show. These are spots. These are spots where you got to have laser focus, okay? That's just the way it's going to be. All right, as a reminder, tonight on the radio, the game is on WFAN 101.9 FM. The Yankees are on WFAN AM. The Giants are on WFAN FM. Pre-game coverage starts from the press box at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Kickoff is at 7. On Channel 5 in New York, okay, you'll have Bob Papa with Carl Banks and Phil Simms up in the booth. Howard Cross, Madeline Burke downstairs. They'll bring you the TV coverage, okay? Then, of course, the TV coverage continues on MSG with a half-hour post-game show. I'll be in the locker room and also on the field with Madeline. We'll give you a half hour on MSG right after the game is over. All right? You'll also have radio post-game on WFAN 101.9 FM for an hour. Then let's see. There'll be rapid reaction, I believe, with Howard Cross on Giants.com after that. I mean, we got wall-to-wall, folks. We couldn't wait for the preseason to start because now we can truly mobilize all the troops. We are jacked up to be working tonight, that's for sure.
Not to mention a bunch of articles and other content, photo galleries, videos up on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app.
All right. We also want to remind you, as Matt mentioned earlier, Giants.com, Giants mobile app, and NFL Plus will have in-market live streaming of the telecast.
Yes.
That won't be a replay. That's only live, correct?
I believe it'll only be live.
That's only
live. At least on Giants.com.
Okay.
NFL Plus, I don't know.
If you want to see the replay of the game, for those of you out of town, remember, all the stuff on the internet is in market, just like Channel 5, Fox 5 is in market. Once again, if you're out of town, NFL Network will have the replay tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time then tomorrow at 5 a.m. in the morning Eastern Time and at 3 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern Time. Also, on August 13th, that will have the replay at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Time. So plenty of chances for even the out-of-town folks to watch the Giants and Lions. And if you're local and in town and you didn't DVR it, you could still watch the replays on NFL Network because they're going to be running them an awful lot. Kind of like Giants classics, if you will. Giants preseason classics.
And we got one more.
What else? You got one more?
If you are out of market and you want to listen and you have Sirius XM radio, it is channel 88.
There you go.
Just giving everyone all the options.
Channel 88 is the NFL channel. So we actually got the lead game on Sirius XM tonight?
I guess so.
That's really cool.
According to Sirius XM's website.
All right.
So.
Love it. Love it. Folks, we hope we have informed you and given you everything that you need to know to prepare for tonight's game. It will be in the rain. So bring your raincoats if you're coming out to MetLife Stadium. For Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. This has been Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. We'll see you tomorrow.
Getting ready to take on your lawn? Make your first move with the reliable performance and power of Steel tools. From hedge trimmers and mowers to string trimmers and more, right now save on select gas tools starting at just $149.99. Real Steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
You know that vibe? When you're riding in your all-new Camry and that cousin calls. The one who always tries to one-up you.
I mean, yours is fine and all, but...
Not even a hello. It's straight into better job, boyfriend, vacation spot. Your response? Brushing the dirt off your shoulders. And pulling up in the all-new Camry. 225 horsepower, bold grille, available 19-inch wheels, and wireless charging. Who has the better what now? Thought so. The vibe just shifted in your favor with the all-new Camry. Toyota. Let's go places.